In the last episode, you would have seen how paradise can change into a nightmare overnight with a spectacular lightning storm. But in this episode, we struggle against 30 to 35 knot winds, and John has to perform a resuscitation after the tragic drowning of our outboard engine on an isolated beach. And we show you how to eat oysters straight off the rocks, all while we wait for our Leopard 50 to be completed.
We left Inlet on another lovely day, but a cold front was rolling in. The winds and rain steadily picked up to over 25 knots and was directly on the nose. Because we had the wind against tide, the swell was horrible and the waves tended to stand up. So rather than battering our way to the south, we made the choice to take refuge in another one of our favourite anchorages, Brampton Island, where we can sit in the sand and have 360 degrees protection from waves and swell.
Okay folks, so I just thought I'd show you how far we dragged last night. So that's where our anchor was, right there where I am, and we dragged all that way in the storm. The anchor alarm was going off and going crazy, but we knew we were dragging. But we've got the stern anchor out the back too, so that sort of dragged about 15 metres or so, but yeah, it was pretty wild. Now it's time to go in for a cup of coffee. Well-deserved cup of coffee. Well, this is the morning from the night before. So what he probably didn't tell you, because he's Mr. Understate things, is that we had a wild warm storm here last night, so much so that the dinghy was flipped over and the engine was upside down. So in the middle of the howling gale, intense rain and wind like you wouldn't believe, we had to try and pick the dinghy up, turn it over and then haul it back up onto the back of the boat, because it was just crazy here last night. Very crazy scene. So now he's having to try and flush the salt water out of the motor, and which we did last night by pouring some fresh water over top. But we didn't, we couldn't get out here to do anything because it was too wild. So this morning...
And the tide was in.
Yeah, and the tide was in. So this morning it's project outboard motor. So this morning John went beach combing to see if he could find what we lost in the storm, and last night we lost our 2 pairs of clogs there for the boat, one each, and we also lost our 2 paddles that were in the dinghy, and we lost the hatch covering the motor at the top. And so he got up early this morning and went and had a look and see what we could find. And fortunately, he found everything that went missing. So happy days, huh? My waterlogged pillow will be resurrected.
There's this spark plug placements, and I'm going to tip the engine up to see. And then I'm told we should turn the engine over a few times. Wow. There's quite a lot of water coming out. So, one YouTube channel said use diesel oil. We don't have any diesel oil. We've got petrol engines, petrol outboard. Would have been fine in the old boat. Oh, when we had diesels in this boat before. So the next one said use 2-stroke oil. which we've got a little bit left because we used almost all of it yesterday when we were filling up the outboard engine tank.
And when you're out and about, you don't have the facilities. You've got to kind of make do with what you've got in the boat, and you always go scrounging around having a look for what you've got. And we needed something like a little, I don't know what you call it, something to push the oil into the engine. So we scrounged around, and what did we find? Surprise! What would a doctor have on their boat? A syringe. So
the trick is, I mean, you're meant to have like a squeegee bottle or something so you can get oil or diesel into the cylinders and into the carburetor, but I don't have that, so we're using a syringe, and obviously the bottle's too big, so I'm just gonna suck up some oil.
very handy being a doctor.
Now I should point out this is a Lure lock syringe, a very high quality Lure lock syringe rather than just one, you know, like you see how at the end there's a screw thing, so you can actually lock the needle onto the syringe.
We don't need the needle today.
Only the best. Now, I'm told you just squirt some oil in there and squirt some oil in there. So we'll do that first. And they said you can't have too much. But one of them did say to shove it into the carburetor as well.
Yes, I did see that.
And I'm not sure, like, what, do we just shove it in? Just shove it in that. Do we just shove it in there?
Well, that way.
Yeah?
Yep.
Gonna go for it?
Yeah, I'm going for it. That way they said that it will sort of lubricate all the bits that have gone
inside the carburetor through the air intake system.
So this is the workstation, and we're doing a clean-up at the moment, so we've got buckets and fenders and towels and all sorts of things that are drying off, but you know, that's what happens when you're in a storm. But you have this magnificent day that, you know, it was just crystal clear water and such ideal conditions, and it's just beautiful. And then you've got, you know, the total contrast.
Putting the spark plugs back.
Now what?
Now I think the big question is, did we get fuel into the water into the fuel tank?
Dun, 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 dun.
How can we tell?
Water's coming out. What a smoke! Well, so far that's a good sign. So we're gonna leave it out here for the sun to dry up any excess moisture that might be in the engine there. It's pretty smoky, but
that's the oil. I mean, we just put a lot of oil through the engine. I'll also wait till the tide comes in when we've got clean water. You know, it's sitting close to the sun. I'm just a little bit scared it's going to, if I turn it too fast, it'll suck sand up into the carburetor, but or not the carburetor, into the cooling system. But we'll let it dry in the sun. Then when the tide comes in, I'll start it again, let it run, give it a few revs, get a bit of heat on the inside of the engine to dry up any water as well. So that's the plan.
So far so good.
Yep.
Woo!
Bit weird sticking oil down the carburetor though. That I would never have thought that was normal. But there you go. And what time is it, honey? About 6 a.m?
Yeah, about that.
But it's a wonderful day. Everything's working out.
Yeah.
Engine's running, hatches back, shoes are back, your pillow to help your bad back is back.
Paddles are back.
Paddles are back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go and have
Let's
a cup
have
of coffee
breakfast.
and brekkie.
Woohoo!
Mangrove roots sending out runners all the way out. The mangroves are trying to take over the universe, aren't they, honey?
They are, actually. So you can see how they just start from, you just need one little stick and then it can spread. They're just incredible. And the reason that they work is because they suck up the salt water and then they purify it within their own system. And if you can see some of the leaves, you can see some of them are yellow. And what they do is they have like a sacrificial system where the leaves that are yellow, they're the ones that have absorbed all the salt, and that's why the other ones are really green. So you'll always see yellow leaves in amongst the really green mangroves, because they're the ones that take on all the salt, and that's how they get rid of the salt. Just a little tip we thought you'd like to know.
David Attenborough, here we come.
So come and have a look close up at these roots. Now these are amazing. The water comes in and the trees are actually able to survive in the salt water because of that whole sacrificial leaf business we just talked about. But they also the roots become a nursery for fish and jellyfish and sea marine creatures. So they breed often in the root system, in the shallows. And yeah, this is, all their eggs hang on to the roots. Have you ever wondered what all these big dips are in the sand? Well, I'll tell you, they're from the stingrays. So the stingrays nestle in here and they shift the sand, and you can see the long part there, that's where their tail's been. So if you have a look at this beach, there are just heaps and heaps of stingray holes, all different sizes, from big mothers to very small babies.
Big family, all staying together. How sweet.
So check this out. When you're a sailor and you pull into Western Bay at the back of Brampton, you will never starve because there are copious amounts of oysters right here.
So how do you get them if you want to eat them?
Okay, so there's a technique, and what you use is either a sharp instrument, a sharp rock or something like that, and you have to actually... Screwdriver's really good to crack the oysters open and then scoop them out. And you can eat them straight off the rock. They are so fresh. And I'm not prepared to do it right now because it's breakfast time and I haven't had breakfast yet, and I'm not prepared to crack open an oyster. I'm not prepared to eat, so you'll just have to imagine what it's like. Unlike me, John's prepared to take it for the team, so it's before breakfast, but he's prepared to have an oyster purely to show you
How it's done.
how it's done. And there you go. So there we have the oyster.
And of
Right
course,
there.
you can scoop it and put it in, take it home, or you can just eat
Straight off the rock. How was that then?
it. Salty, but very fresh.
Don't get any fresher than that. What are you doing?
So here we are, we're trying to see if we can get another mussel. Or a mussel, oh, rock moves. Of course, is course, don't want to give in. There we go. Once you start getting a movement in the shell, then usually you can lift it up. And you just have to look at that. Isn't that gorgeous?
There you go. And it's so fresh, you don't even need to cook it, you can just eat it straight off the rocks. Which John's going to demonstrate to us right now before breakfast. Gone. How is that then?
They're really, really tasty.
You don't even need to add salt, right?
Probably a bit too much salt there actually, but that's because it does have the salt water in it. That's how they stay alive between tides. They keep the water in their shells. So absolutely gorgeous.
Don't know how these guys fared up last night, but it would have been pretty wild out there. I can't even see it. It looks like the boat's gone this morning. It was out there. Yeah.
The boat's here at 5.
Yeah. John's going to see the neighbours, see how they fared up last night with the storm. It's a neighbourly thing to do. So here we are. Turn little pan. Exactly where we are. Balderdash. Sorry about the wobbliness. I'm just going to turn back a little bit. But here we are. This is where we were last night when the storm hit. Actually, I think it might have been 2 systems because we got dumped on the first time and it blew like the bejesus, and then the second system hit us again. People lose their buckets over the side, and it's very smart to tie them on like we've done right there. We've lost a bucket or 2 in our time, so now we know to tie it on first up. There's another one. Oh no, he's just moved. He's right there. He's right here, hon. How cool is that? Look at that. David Edinburgh, eat your heart out. You can see their stingy tail. They've got like a barb. And it's poisonous, so you don't want to be stepping on that barb.
Trapping the stingray so it attacks you with this barb.
Yeah.
Because it'll aim the barb at your heart. It aims the barb at the electromagnetic centre of your body, which is your heart.
They're actually very timid creatures, and it's very unusual that they would sort of, attack unless they were cornered.
So give them space.
There he is out there, testing out the dinghy after saving it from a fate worse than death, as far as outboard motors go, which is falling into the salt water. So he's managed to get it going. He's very clever. And he's just delivering back a plate from these awesome people that he went over to see if they were okay this morning after the storm. And they gave us a couple of muffins, homemade. Very lovely. That's what you get when you hang out with sailors and boating people. They're just awesome. Oh, nice one.
Don't know what it is, but it was breakfast.
Think I might be over my troubles since you came around.
Finally, we say goodbye to Oz, our family and our friends, to collect our new Leopard 50 catamaran in the USA. So join us for the excitement. The doctor's orders are to prescribe for free to our channel. Ding the dong so you don't miss your fix of the next episode, where you can kick off your shoes and come barefoot with us. Love and health to you all.
When I was feeling down.